But in the meantime, now I'm going to jump back to right now, why we're here today, this morning. And we are going to hear and share the stories. I was suggesting that the reason you're here is because someone in our community invited you to come. So I'm going to invite you, once you share the set stories, to increase the storytelling, to go out after today and tell the stories. Be part of our community. That gets the word out. That's why our guests have come to the US, I think for 5 days, 6 days. They flew in, they went to Los Angeles, they came here, they're going to Scottsdale, they're going to San Francisco, and they're going back home. I invited them, I said, oh, we'll show you Newport Beach, it's so beautiful. And they were like, I left my families in hotels at home, I want to tell the story, and then I'm going back home. So we can appreciate that, and then we will turn around and tell the story as well. So we do have thank yous to the World Zionist Organization that made this possible, to the Israel's Ministry of Diaspora that made it possible, to our national JCC that made it possible, and to you. So we have Benny, Aaron, and Anat. They each have an amazing story. I'm not going to do the introductions. I'm going to let their stories introduce. I think Benny, we're starting with you.
Yes.
Benny. I should probably mention that English is not their first language. They have told this story in Los Angeles a million times. It's a long and exhausting trip, and we are gracious and appreciate all your efforts.
Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. As she said, we are not professional speakers, so excuse us in advance. But you're going to hear our testimony, and we will start. So, my story, our story. My name is Benny Abital. This is my family. I'm 40 years old. I'm working in Tnuva. Tnuva is the biggest food company in Israel. I'm working as a project manager over there. My wife is a dance teacher. And we have 3 kids. I have the oldest son, Sal, 9 years old. My daughter, 7 years old, Adi. And Yoav, the youngest son, is 4.5 years old. A little bit about the kibbutz. The kibbutz, it's a small village. We are only 400, the population is 400 people. And there is a lot of young families, adults, big variety of all the population. Wait, sorry. So, where is Nir Oz? Actually, this is the Gaza, and in the white you see the white border. We are here. It's 1.5 miles from the border itself, really, really close. But it's a beautiful place, really beautiful. And now in this time we have red tulips, like covered all over. So it's beautiful. And we consider it is a paradise, actually. We're living in paradise, from our perspective. So you see Nir Oz is over here. Maybe you're familiar with also another kibbutz. There is also Kfar Aza, Zikim, Sderot is the city, and Ofakim. Right. So, a little bit about the life before. So I start to saying it was a paradise. It's still a paradise. Small pictures from the kibbutz himself, with celebration, holidays, playing soccer. This is exactly from last year. This is how it looked like. And actually, this is my wife. And in the kibbutz, as you see, this is the main the main entrance to the dining room, and outside there is a big yard, and all the kids going freely and playing with each other, playing with the adults. It's really open space, big open space for them. 4 days before, this is my wife. She liked to run marathons, and as you see on the Garmin path, she really liked to run to the border. Not because it was dangerous for us, it's just beautiful place. There's a lot of agriculture and no man's land. It's just beautiful place. So, and we feel really confident to be there, to run, to do whatever we do, all the activities, and to just take a picture of the sunrise near Gaza. So, as you can understand, 4 days before, everything is regular. We don't see something suspicious, and we just keep it normal. This is the night before. You can see here, this is my family. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and almost everyone live in the small villages in the Gaza border. I'm born in Moshav Yesha, this picture taken in Moshav Yesha. And we had a big celebration, celebrating Sukkot. So we met all the family, it was almost 30 people, including children, and celebrating. And what happened, this is my wife, and 1 week before, me and my twin brother that live in Kibbutz Re'im, we went to Sinai, to the beaches. It was amazing. And after we come back, of course, my wife and my wife of my brother is over here. They want to do the same, to have fun. So they went and they closed the hotel in Tel Aviv on Friday morning. And they went to Tel Aviv to celebrate. So this is really the picture from Tel Aviv on Friday night. After we finish the celebration in my family, my parents' house, I come back to the kibbutz and I sat with, this is Jonathan, he's my friend from the kibbutz, drinking wine. This is really outside, I think in 11 o'clock, something like that. Seven hours before. So the kids, as every year, really like to sleep over and to sleep outside on the sukkah. So as every year, I build the sukkah and outside the house, and they sleep over there. So as I told, I have my daughter Adi, Sal, Yoav, the youngest kid, and this is another Yoav. This is the son of my friend that you saw that I drinking wine with. He just liked to also do sleep outside, so we asked to join. So we said, yes, why not? So everybody's sleeping outside in the sukkah. Six and a half. This is the alert that we are hearing in the kibbutz. This is how it's sounding. In this moment, all the kids are already familiar with that. It's a little strange to say, but we get used to it already. This is one part of the normal life in Gaza border, actually. Once in a while, we get missiles, sorry. Yes, mussels, it's not a thing we eat yesterday, not connected to that. And so once in a while it's happening, and the children ready to do it, and they get inside, they're running to the bomb shelter, And it's okay. We already, as I said, familiar with the situation. But in this time there was much more alarms and rockets than usual. But still, we already, as I said, used to it. So I'm sending a picture, a video actually,
כן, מה אתם אומרים?
to the parents of Yoav. They will know he is safe with us. This is before we know what is going to happen.
זה טוב? אוקיי, נכון, אתם רואים?
They are happy because they are not school tomorrow.
אנחנו קמנו מהסוכה, ישר לממ"ד.
And we are laughing about it. We just waking up from the sukkah to the bomb shelter. And also in the bomb shelter, they are sleeping. The oldest, my sons Al and Yoav, they are sleeping in the bomb shelter. This is their room. Okay? So, this is the correspondence that I have with my wife. As I say, she celebrating in Tel Aviv. And she sent me text, WhatsApp. In Israel we use, everything is WhatsApp. Yes, and she sent me what's going on. And I tell her everything's okay, we're in the safe rooms, alerts and bombs suddenly. Do you sleep in the sukkah? What happened? And I told her everything's okay, we're in the safe room. And then she asked me if there is intrusion. I say yes. And Eran and me, we are in the safe response spot in the kibbutz. So after the red alerts, we already get the WhatsApp message that tell us to jump. To jump, it's meaning to put our clothes, the vest, the helmets, the weapon. And what happened this time that I didn't have the weapon, it was locking the safe and the key was with my wife. Yes, unfortunately, this is what happened. So I called our chief security guy to tell them the story. He told me, okay, don't worry, I will come with a spare key and we will arrive. So in the meanwhile, we get inside to the bomb shelters and we're getting a lot of text messages from the other guys in the safe, in the first response teams. And we're already hearing voice messages and hearing they start shooting. So you understand it's not a normal thing and there is terrorists inside the kibbutz, for sure. We still doesn't understand what is the major, how many people there is, but we understand something is happening. So when we get inside, when we get inside, I just put the kids and once in a while I just leave them there and go inside the house, but outside from the bomb shelter. And I'm seeing from the toilet windows a white pickup truck just driving like crazy with terrorists on it. And they're yelling and they are shouting and they are driving like crazy. And that you will understand what is the distance between what I saw from the windows and the pickup truck. So think we are sitting here, this is the window, and the pickup truck just where you see the signs or the other door, this is the distance that I see the white trucks. So we understand it's not normal. Actually, this is a picture that I took after a while. I thought will be the last picture. And you don't see it, but just I'm holding the door. So, the door handle is our only hope. What is happening? I cannot lock the door the door in the state now, I understand it after yesterday lecture, testimony, that it's not a safe room, doesn't build for thief or something like that. You close yourself inside and nobody needs to enter. It's not the purpose of the safe room. The safe room or the bomb shelters is for bombs, okay? And the purpose is actually the opposite. So if you get locked inside, so it'd be easier for somebody to come to rescue to open. So it is actually built the opposite way. It doesn't need to be. It didn't build to be locked inside. It was never was the purpose. So I found myself actually holding the door, and I start to realize this is my only hope to get through this terrorist. At 9 o'clock, they already get inside the first time. They enter to my house. You hearing a lot of shooting, a lot of shouting in Arabic. They tell me Chag Sameach in Hebrew. And they trying to open the door. The only thing, again, that held them outside and me and the kids inside safe, it's me with handling the door. So you can imagine, and you can imagine to yourself, maybe when you come back home, what it means. Just try to hold the door and realize this is the only thing that separates between life and death, and also for your kids. So at 9, they entered for the first time, and fortunately after 10 minutes they go outside, and I thought it's finished because we already drilled and to have a situation like that after 45 minutes the army should arrive, and already passed a lot of time. So we were sure that the army will arrive and will save us. This is what happened meanwhile. I don't know, it's like I don't have a big picture of what happened in the kibbutz, because again, we are close inside the safe room, but this is the map of Nir Oz, all the red dots, it's what happened. Each dot has its own story, and my house is here. If you see the blue mark, it's here. As you see all around us, something is happening. You still doesn't aware what is going on. But my wife, she's in Tel Aviv, and she see all the messages. And she see also the messages that they have in WhatsApp, in the women group on the kibbutz. And of course, you know, women talk a lot and talk more and give more information. So she know better than me what is going on. And she understands the situation actually better than me, what happened in these times. For my perspective, I'm understanding that there is terrorists in my house, and I'm saying everybody come because they are here. Before there is only 4 or something like that. So again, I'm also holding the doors, and the meanwhile there is a lot of houses going on fires, a lot of shootings, and families going to be killed, kidnapped, and hell, what's going on outside. So she asked me if she's saying, I'm not sure the safe room is locked. As I said, again, we cannot lock. I'm holding the door. I'm protecting the door. And that's the way it's continue. She told me, as I told you before, she understands that they start lighting the houses. So she told me to put a wet cloth under the door. So what I did actually, because we've been inside and there is no toilets, and the kids just wake up and didn't have the chance to go to the toilet, so we just doing pee, everyone. And we took in the blankets and we put it under the door. Now they enter for the second time. Now there are much more people and they're making much more noise. And you're hearing them actually feeling quite safe, smoking cigarette, putting Arabic music, going to the toilet, smoking cigarettes, talking everything, and once in a while they trying to open the door. And I'm holding the door, and actually, if we'll be honest, in this period of time, I was a little despaired because I didn't know how long I can continue to hold the door, and if they, just they can only replace each other, and they have more strength than me, and also they can shoot the door or shoot RPG, bomb it, fire it, I don't know. So I just praying to God that give me strength. So this is the team, as I told you before, Israeli Refugees. What's up? So this is my team from the paratroopers. I've been in the units in the paratroopers. I fight in Second Lebanon War, and I told them, hey guys, they're in my house, I love you. And in this point of time, I was sure that I'm saying goodbye to my loved one. So they are in my house, God save us, I don't know what to do. Because again, I cannot do nothing, just holding the door and praying. This is my son corresponds together with my wife. My son writing to my wife, we have terrorists in our home. Be quiet, she told him. Don't call, be quiet. Send me your location. She want, in the meanwhile, she's Tel Aviv to send the army to reach to us. And then my son call the army, and it's continue like that. I don't show you all the correspondence, but it's continuing like this. I think 20, 30 messages like that. And luckily, at 12 o'clock, I hear them say, yalla yalla. After 2-3 minutes, something like that, quiet. They are gone. I start to realize that maybe it's finished. And I'm saying to my wife, I love her, we are okay, they are gone. They were here for half an hour, actually it was more. Where is the army? We love you too. At 12:30, something like that, my neighbor, she live alone, and in the kibbutz you need to understand the houses really close to each other, okay? And the neighbors, it's like families. And luckily for my neighbor, she arrived in 12:30, and I'm hearing her coming inside because everything is broken, so you can hear if somebody is coming, and you hear she's alone. And she says she's over here, and she overwhelmed to see that everything is broken, because in our house nobody entered. Succeed to enter, let's be precise. And what is happening that I told her if she sees some booby traps, some gas, something, because I was sure they put something on, and she said she doesn't see nothing. Okay, we open the door, I give her a big hug, and she come back to her house, and in this time, I'm just going back and forth inside the house and realize actually what happened. This is what happening meanwhile. in the kibbutz. Is you see the Bibas, is the neighbors. Ariel actually is a friend. He's 4 years old and his friend is in the same kindergarten as my son, and they're friends. As you see, she really protect the kids. They live really next to us. And this is actually video that the Hamas showed on the Telegram, and some of the people actually saw it out live, but I didn't saw it. So this is my house after the builder. They just smash everything they can. They take whatever they can. And a lot of symbolic for this time. I didn't know why they did take this picture, but this is the cigarette of the terrorist with the Hanukkah. And this is the picture outside. In this moment, I'm going back and forth, and I calling to the mother of Yoav, the other, my friends, my friend's boy that come and tell her that we survived. And she said there is still terrorists going around, so come back to the safe home. After 5-10 minutes, I decide that I'm hearing really quiet. I'm going outside, and also the reception is coming back. You need to understand when you're going outside, it's like Armageddon. It's like really quiet. You don't see nobody. You see all the doors is open, but nobody is over there. You see a lot of houses going on fire, but nobody there. No birds, no dogs, no nothing. Complete silence. Like everybody disappeared. In this time,
נמצאת פה עזרה דחוף להגיע לקיבוץ ניר עוז, רוצים להוציא את כולם מהבתים, הכל שרוף, פציעות של שאיפות עשן, תגיעו לפה, זריז, להגיע לפה.
What is happening that I'm going outside, as I said, and the receptionist come back and around, give me a phone call and tell me there is a friend of ours that is trapped inside the bomb shelters, and his house is going on fire and needs to be rescued. I tell him, give me 1 minute, let me think what they're doing to do with the kids. I'm going again to the neighbor and ask her to stay with the kids. She accepts, and I meet around in the middle of the way. In the middle of the way, we're really close, near to each other. How much is it? How much we live? 150 meters, something like that, 200 meters for each other, really, really close. So we meet each other, and in this period of time, as I said, there is completely silence. There is no army, but we don't know if there is still terrorists in the kibbutz or not. Maybe they ambush us, we don't know. So we just meet in the middle, and we look back, and this is the houses that we saw just burning, and we know there is family inside. So we said, okay, before we continue to the guy that has to be rescued, let's help them. So we finding some gloves, putting water, and try to get inside, but the fire is so strong, we cannot really enter it. After 1 meter, we go back. We shouting and calling them, but nobody is answering. So we were sure they're already dead. We continue to the family just to be rescued, going together really carefully, because again, we don't understand if there is still terrorists or not. We reach to the family, to Eitan, Cunio, and Stav, Ofri, and Yuval. Also, doing the same drill, putting gloves in water. The house is going on fire. We get inside, and we take them, pull them outside. You need to understand this, when you get inside, you don't see nothing. Just see black smoke, and you don't really see. So we take them outside, and only when we put them out and put them on the grass, we saw they're covered really with smoke, with black all over the faces, and really there was on the last minute, let's say, they already also start puking, and Eran will describe it later. So we save this family. In the meanwhile, what's happening is it's David. Actually, they are twin brothers. It's not the same guy. Okay? And what is going on that David, Sharon, Emma, and Julie was kidnapped to Gaza, all four of them. And luckily, in the last transaction with the prisoners, they get released, Sharon, Emma, and Julie, but David is still there. He's still in Gaza, and he's crying. He's crying because he's sure that his brothers, his family is dead. Because from his understanding, they died on the fire. So, and we know because they come back and they say that they will show this whole family, Eitan and stuff, and the kids are dead. So this is the situation actually right now. He is sure that his twin brother family is dead. Now the situation is in the kibbutz, say we are a population of 400 people, 46 have been murdered, 31 still in prison kidnapped, they are still in Gaza, and 40 hostage released. Actually, you see here a little picture of the people still there, and here you can see the people that we got the answering they died last week. To emphasize, all our guys from the safe response team, they jump, they are all dead or kidnapped. This is the mailbox of the kibbutz. This is all the people that live in the kibbutz, this is the mailbox. So you'll see here the stickers they put just to emphasize how many people get injured, kidnapped, murdered in our small village. After that, Eran will explain again when the armies arrived and when we get released in the end, and only one day after, on Sunday, we get evacuated to Eilat, to Hotel Yam Suf, and we are there ever since. The amazing things that's actually happening, that after I was sure that we survive, and I was a little glad that I survived it with my kids. And I have another twin brother in Kibbutz Re'im that also in the safe response team, and he also survived. But my oldest brother, Gil, is 56 years old. He also had been in the safe response team. He jumped in the morning, and after battle with the terrorist, he died. So this announcement, I get it in 11:30 on the Saturday evening, and this is Gil. And he has 3 kids, a wife, and actually when they jumped together with the rest of the guys, they saved all the community over there. There was more than 16 terrorists over there. They have gunfighting with them. They wounded the Hamas commanders, but unluckily they killed all of them. But what happened that after the fighting, all the terrorists, because they was wounded, they come back to Gaza and they didn't enter nobody's house. So they saved actually in their death all the community over there. So this is a small memorial where they died, and in their death they actually saved a lot of life. Again, a lot of pictures from the graveyards where we put him under the ground, and that's the way it's continue. And the rest of the things I said, it's not an Hollywood stories, okay? The story is still going on. The fighting is still going on. The war is still going on. We still have a lot of kidnapped, a lot of friends still out there. And we are struggling now to just get to normal. As I said, we already more than 2 months living in a hotel, all the community together in one hotel. And the next step is going to a building in Kiryat Gat, is a city, 1 hour drive from Kibbutz Nir Oz. And this is the temporary solution till we'll figure out what will be the solution in the end, if we come back to Nir Oz, or each one will decide what he's going to do. But I think in the end of the month, we should already to pass there, and it's going to be interesting to move from the kibbutz to a city. It's completely something else for us, but we are waiting for it, because each one needs his regular life again. Little pictures of what we are doing over there. So we are taking care of us. A lot of psychologists, a lot of diving, scuba diving. Here it's a picture together we run doing scuba diving, the sunset in Eilat. And we just take care of ourselves. And one of the parts of healing is to come here to tell our story, and that you will realize from our eyes what we saw and what we felt. Okay, because it's not like on the news. It's not completely something else. This is a picture, a video actually. This is my wife, my son, my other son, my daughter, a lot of kids in the hotel. They are making the dance for Hanukkah. It will be the lightning dance. So this is what they're doing right now. And we are sure that we will win in the end. We are not have any doubt about it. And the beautiful things that you can see, it's the beautiful and glorious Am Israel, also all the communities, everybody want to help. It's unbelievable. It's not something that you can see in another place, I think, in the world. Help each other, it's something so unique, so warm of the hearts, I cannot even describe it. But each one doing what he can to help. And it's beautiful to see. And this is why we will win in the end. And this is our strength, also with you. This is a picture from the hotel we are in with the Hanukkah, and this is from the kibbutz himself with Israeli flag and flag of the kibbutz. So now we are rocking again to rebuild what had been destroyed. This is a picture that my son took one day after. This is again a video of my house after they left. I'm still here, doesn't realize what horror and actually what miracle happened to us, because we are lucky ones. And as I said, we're going outside, little smoke, but no, nothing is happening, and you see the sukkah where they sleep in. This is a short video, I will skip it because I don't have a lot of time. And that's it. This is my story.
Thank you everyone for coming and listening to us. It's not so easy for us to do it, and definitely not 2 times, 3 times in one day. But we're trying to do the best and let you understand as much as we can what was happening on 7th October in Israel. So I was telling my story so many times, but in Hebrew, and I try to translate my story to English. I hope it will be fine. Living near the border, we are used to red alerts, the incoming rocket sirens. I didn't panic when we heard the sirens on Saturday, October 7. I thought I was imagining things. I didn't understand what happening. But I started to hear machine guns, bars from outside my kibbutz, outside my home. At first, I couldn't identify which direction I heard the sounds coming from. Reports flooded in from the kibbutz security personnel that something unusual is happening. We were updating each other on what we were seeing, and the picture became clearer. We have terrorists in the kibbutz, and they were in the homes of my friends and family. I first thought the army was already in the kibbutz. This is my kibbutz, Nir Oz, on the 7th of October. I guess you can see how pastorally it should be, as you can see all the trees. But on that day, that's how the kibbutz looks like. I realized that there were voices in Arabic barking orders outside my door. I decided that I had to do something, but I didn't know what to do. I have never trained for this situation, for a situation like this. So I waited for instructions from the kibbutz security coordinator, but then I realized he also couldn't be ready for this. The thing that scared me the most was friendly fire between the kibbutz security personnel. I was afraid to shoot, but I realized that I had to leave the house to at least understand what was happening. I went out to the balcony and the path by my house. I realized that my house was surrounded, and I didn't know for sure if it's terrorists or the army or both. I returned to my house and heard the terrorists close to me. I went to the safe room to hide, hoping to get instructions or updates about the army operation. Still believe the army is keeping us. Then the terrorists entered my home. I loaded my rifle until the very last moment. I didn't believe this was happening. The house and the safe room were unlocked. I waited for them to enter the safe room about maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours. I saw death approaching and felt there was nothing I could do about it. I considered stepping out to speak with them, to try to reason with them. I instead decided I'd rather die at home than risk being kidnapped. Before this day, I had been asked by the security coordinator to get a rifle, but I didn't want it because I'm a peace man. I don't want to fight, I don't want to shoot anybody. It's not me. At the end, I took the gun because I had to, but I never imagined I would have to use it. The terrorists stayed in my home for hours, repeatedly entering and exiting. I was ready with my barrel pointed to the door. I hid quietly in the closet and managed to lean a piece of cardboard against the outside of the closet door. I heard the safe room door open and the terrorist whispering while they looked under the bed and in the closet. Then I heard them moving the cardboard. I knew that I had moments to live, yet in the back of my mind, I was scared to shoot. The room was dark and I just couldn't believe that terrorists had taken over the kibbutz and were murdering and kidnapping at such a scale. They opened the closet I was in. I saw 2 armed men looking straight at me with my rifle into them. They closed the door and jumped back. I immediately shoot in their direction. This was the moment I switched from hiding to fighting. The terrorists rolled outside. I had a chance to make sure they are dead, but I let them escape. More terrorists came in to take away their wounded. I hid again. They left bags of ammunition and equipment, so I knew they would come back. I got flashback of my urban warfare training from days in the IDF. I looked for their angle of attack, found the spot in the house with a good cover and saw 6 armed men coming in my direction. Before I saw those 6 armed men coming in my direction, I saw so many terrorists and civilians and kids and whoever you can imagine, all of them from Gaza. Speaking Arabic, taking their times, controlling totally the kibbutz, my home. It was bizarre to see. Okay. I looked for the angle of attack. I found a spot in the house with a good cover and saw 6 armed men coming my direction. I waited with my barrel pointed towards them until I couldn't hear what language they are speaking. When I heard Arabic, I realized they were coming for me and I opened fire. All 6 fell and more armed men come to evacuate them. I moved from cover to cover, shooting a terrorist circling the house. They looked increasingly professional in their advance and with their wall, trying to identify the source of my fire before escaping. I then tried to get in touch with others to understand what was happening on the kibbutz. I was scared alone and couldn't yet understand or believe the full picture. I managed to reach Benny Avital, one of the community security volunteers. He explained that he was alone with his kids and had no weapon. we choose a meeting point to begin working together as a unit. After getting Benny's neighbor into his safe room to watch his kids, we went out, and it was then we understood what the terrorists were setting, that the terrorists were setting homes on fire and families trapped inside. We took towels, wet them, wiped our faces, and began rescuing families from the fires. We took families from the burnt homes to other houses with undamaged safe rooms. Finally, I got a message. The helicopter with the Navy commandos, the Shayetet, is on the way to help you. On 2:30 p.m., I spoke with the Shayetet commander. I sent him our location and our exact description. Each of us teamed up with the commando force and guided them around the kibbutz to fight the terrorists, treat the wounded, and evacuate the living, wounded, and our dead neighbors. As we made contact with others in the community, they asked us about their loved ones. Even when we knew the answer, we said we weren't sure. We had decided to let the army share the bad news after they verified deaths and hostages taken. We tried to make a list of living, the dead, the missing. The dead and the missing list grow and grow and grow. We searched all night and day, bit by bit. Residents' stories gave us a clearer picture of who was missing. The following evening, 36 hours after the infiltration started, I was evacuated to Eilat with the remaining living residents from Meroz. I have realized a few things from that day. In regards to Kibbutz Meroz, I am closely tied to the community, and I am willing to sacrifice my life for its residents. On a personal level, I learned to listen to myself and follow my intuition. Our time here on earth is limited. We need to differentiate between good and evil, between what is important and what is not. This event changed my life. When I realized I was going to die, not having any more time to accomplish my life work, something that I had taken for granted, I felt pain. I came to realize that there is no more time to live. Whatever I wasn't able to do until today will never happen. I understood that these are the person's last thoughts before dying. I hope that when my day comes, I will feel well knowing what I achieved, that I achieved what I wanted in life. Life, health, and the people around you are the most important things. Everything else is secondary. The message I'm trying to convey to you today is that we all share the same fate. The terrorists didn't distinguish between Muslims or Jews, between Americans, Russians, or Thais. Us, the ones who grew up near the Gaza Strip border, were the first line of defense, protecting the rest of Israel. And the state of Israel is the first line of defense for the rest of the world from what could happen if hate and terror would win. I often think about how people in other countries would react to a single missile launched at their children. And endangering their lives only because they were born to a black, Muslim, Latino, or Jewish parents. That was my story.
Hi. So Julie told us earlier that you only got the invite for this event yesterday. And I want to say before I will tell you my story that I know you came here to hear testimonies, but I really appreciate you coming here and taking the time to hear us. I'm speaking for myself, so taking the time to hear me and the story that I feel that I must tell. So thank you. And I should begin by saying that unlike Benny and unlike Iran, I was safe. I was safe on October 7th. I was safe in my home in Tel Aviv. And I didn't and I couldn't comprehend the depth of the tragedy that unfolds in front of us. The national tragedy to Israel, the tragedy to Kibbutz Kfar Aza, the kibbutz where I grew up and where my family still lived, who knows. And more than that, my very own personal tragedy. So I was safe on this day, and I'm not going to tell you of my own experience. I'm going to tell you the story of my father. And I'm telling it for him because he's gone. But his story is a story of bravery that has to be told and has to be heard. So again, thank you for being here today and for hearing me. So I'm here to tell you of my beloved father, with his very kind eyes and his irresistible smile, a smile I'm told I share. And I'm very proud to say that's not what I meant to say. I'm very proud to be similar to him. That's what I meant to say. And I'm constantly reminded of him. And it really touches me every time to hear how similar we are. So my father, he was 67-year-old, and he still had so many years ahead of him. He was in good health. He had a clear mind. He still had so much time to live. And he was murdered early in the morning of October 7. He was one of the first victims of this nightmare of a day. I guess to the terrorists, he appeared as an elderly man, sitting frightened and unarmed on the floor in the safe room in his home. And they didn't hesitate. They shot him on the spot. They murdered him. And to them, he must have seemed like an innocent victim, one of more than 60 people murdered in Kfar Aza on that day. But they didn't know the kind of person that he was. And I'm here to say that he was definitely not the kind of person to just sit politely on the floor and wait to be killed. So this is not the story that I'm telling today. And this is probably a good time to tell you a bit more about my father. He worked with computers for as long as I can remember, which is probably the early 90s. Maybe if I stretch it, the late 80s, but the early 90s it is. And he was a very strong believer in doing things by himself. I guess as American, this is something that you can relate to. And that could have been any manual work that had to be done for the maintenance of the house. The houses in the kibbutzes, they're not as big as the houses I see here, but still, it's definitely bigger than the apartment we have in Tel Aviv. It was a big enough house, and it took a lot of work, and he did it all by himself. And whenever they had any appliance that malfunctioned in his house, in our house, for friends, He would fix it, he knew how to fix everything. He always had a solution. And if he wanted to plan or build another part of the house, or maybe some weird idea of a new device that he felt he needed, or furniture, or, I mean, he had so many crazy ideas all the time. So he did it all. He did it all by himself. He planned and executed. And to me, my father is the embodiment of what it means to be an engineer. He was very sharp, he was very shrewd, and he had such a keen mind. And more than anything, he was thorough. And a colleague of his told me that in their high-tech company, they had a scale by which they evaluate employees. And on one end of the scale was this colleague, and he's, I think, late 20s. So if he had a problem, he would just Google up a quick solution and just test to make sure that it works and be done with it. And on the other end of the scale was my father. And if he faced the same problem, he wouldn't Google up the solution, he would Google up the manual, and then he would read it end to end, and then he would devise the best possible solution. And everyone in the company knew that his was the best solution available. So this gives you a pretty good sense of who he was. If he encountered a problem, he would just dive headfirst into it. He would conduct research, he would read every textbook available, he would consult experts, and then he would choose his course of action. And once he was set on a plan, he didn't budge. He wouldn't listen to naysayers, he wouldn't be deterred by people telling him that he should not or could not do what he wanted to do, what he thought he should do. And this is not because he was headstrong, because if offered any valid objections or good advice, he would listen. He would listen and he would fix his course. So it was not just about being headstrong, it was just about not listening to background noises, not letting it stop you. He was just that confident. And obviously, this is only one part of the wonderful man he was, and I would so much like to tell you all about him, all about how loving he was to me, to the family, to his friends, and how funny he was, but I'm gonna wait with that. And for now, I'm just gonna say that to me, there are 3 words that sum him up. Raconteur, resourceful, steadfast. And I will go back to the morning of October 7. And the thing to understand is that on this morning, my father wasn't alone in his house. He had other family members with him in the house. And they had been with him at 6:30 a.m. when the sirens first went off. And when you live this close to the border with Gaza, the sirens often go off. So they weren't too frightened at first. They sat together in the safe room, and it was, just another day, just another time that it happens. But at some point, they felt that this time was different, especially when they heard shooting from outside. And this is the time that my father left the safe room. And we don't really know why he left the safe room. Knowing him, we believe that he had some sort of a plan in motion. And looking at the evidence left at the house, we can try and make an educated guess of what it was, but we can't know for sure. And whatever plan he had, he just didn't have enough time. It's nice to hear babies. Because at 7 a.m., the other family members heard an explosion. And again, we can't tell for sure, but it seems like most likely this is how the terrorists got into the house, and it was the breaking of a very large glass window that my parents had at their living room. And shortly afterwards, the family members say that they heard my father shouting at them to get into there are terrorists in the house and that they must get into the bathroom and lock the door. And I need to explain something, because safe rooms in Israel don't have bedrooms. Okay, they don't have bedrooms. They are only meant for short stays. But the safe room in my parents' house was planned by my father. He planned it himself. He didn't wait for the government to build a standard one like they built in the other houses in the kibbutz. And when he planned safe room, he planned for any foreseeable contingency. And he knew that there might be a scenario in which we would have to wait in the safe room for many hours. And in this case, obviously, you would want to have a bathroom. So he built a bathroom inside the safe room. And my husband reminded me recently that how difficult it was to get the approvals for this bathroom, because again, safe rooms are not supposed to have a bathroom. So why are you making all of these problems for us? Why are you asking to plan something that you don't need? And I mean, yeah, that was my father. He could wear down any committee. So he got the approvals eventually. He got the approvals and they had the bathroom. And there he was in the house, 7 a.m., October 7th. And he had terrorists in his house, he knew that. And he was unarmed, but he had loved ones with him that he had to protect. And he did the bravest thing that you could do. He told them to hide in the bathroom inside the safe room. And then he sat on the floor in the safe room, his back resting against the door behind which they were hiding. And he pretended to be alone, and he pretended to be cowed, and he pretended to be fearful. And the terrorists shot him. They murdered him. But once again, we see that he always had a plan. He had a plan, and he chose his position very carefully. He knew that they would come and they would kill him. But he positioned himself in such a way that his body would be left blocking the way to his family. And I said on his grave after 30 days when we went, that my father was big in every dimension, both physical and metaphysical. So when he chose for his body to be left there, he knew that the terrorists would have to make an extra effort to move him, to get to the family. And luckily, his gamble proved true. The terrorists did not bother to move his body, so once they were reassured of his death, they just left the house, and the other family members were saved. And it took another 21 harrowing hours for the army to get to them, to get them out of the house, out of the kibbutz, with battles ongoing all through the times and even after they left. But they were physically unharmed. And I'm not here to talk of their plight, because they are alive, and once ready, they can tell the story themselves. So I'm here to speak for the one who did not get safely out of the safe room. I'm here to speak of my courageous father, and anyone who knew him in his life could not be surprised by his actions that day. He was always a quick thinker. He was always so bright, and he was in an impossible situation. Truly, he had nothing with which to protect his family, but he was brave, and he assessed the situation quickly, and he did what he had to do. He did what he had to do to protect them. And I know that if he had more time, if the terrorists came to the house at 8 a.m., maybe even 7:30 a.m., he would have more time and he could save himself also. And he would be safe now, but we weren't that lucky on that day. We weren't that lucky, and he's gone now. And I want to be clear that I know that even though we weren't lucky on that dreadful day, I can appreciate how lucky I am to have had him as a father. And I know most every girl would say the same about her father, but I'm writing this. He was very special. And I miss him so much, and I'm very proud of him. But it doesn't help, miss him still. And frankly, I feel robbed. I mean, my father was robbed of his future, but I was robbed of his presence. He should have been here now. He should have been here now to comfort me. He should have been here now to console me. He should have been here now to worry about me. And most importantly, he should have been here now for me to worry about him. And he's beyond worrying about now. And I know that I will be okay. I will be okay because really I have no other choice, because that's what he would have wanted. He would have wanted me to be okay, to move on, to be okay. And since he's dead now, I can't really let him down in that. So I'm gonna be okay, that's a given. But I must say that I feel that I must grow from this. I must somehow become better than I was before, because otherwise his death would have been for naught. And that's not a thought that I can bear. So I take it upon me, and I'm telling you, I take it upon me to honor his memory by somehow growing from this. And I still don't know how, but I'm very confident that I will figure it out. And I'm adding to this speech, this is not written here, but I'll just say that I thought about it this morning, and I guess the third thing that I'm going to try and do, I'm gonna be braver, and I'm gonna try what I want, and not fear that I will fail. I won't let fear stop me from trying to get what I want. If I fail, then I fail. I tried at least, and I think this is something that we would appreciate. So again, thank you very much for letting me tell you.